Love can bloom in the most unexpected places, but sometimes what feels like destiny is just an impossible dream. My name is Mariana, and I was just an ordinary college student. My world revolved around books, assignments, and dreams of a bright future. I never thought that one day my heart would beat faster for someone I could never have. It all started in my second year of university when I met Professor Ethan Carter. Professor Carter was different from all the other teachers. He had a way of making everything sound interesting, even the most boring subjects. His voice was deep and calm, his explanations were clear, and his passion for teaching was inspiring. He was not just a professor, he was a storyteller, making every lesson feel like an adventure. I sat in the front row of his class, hanging on to every word. At first it was just admiration. He was knowledgeable, confident, and kind. But over time, admiration turned into something else, something more dangerous. I started looking forward to his classes, not because of the subject, but because of him. I would wake up excited on the days I had his lectures, choosing my best outfit, making sure my hair was perfect, and hoping he would notice me just a little more. It wasn't intentional at first, but soon I realized that I was developing feelings for him. I tried to ignore it. He was my professor, and I was just a student. But my heart didn't listen to logic. One evening, after a long lecture, I stayed behind to ask him a question. It was just a simple question about the assignment, but when he looked into my eyes, I felt something shift. His gaze lingered for a second too long, and I swear I saw a flicker of hesitation, of something deeper. "You're one of my brightest students, Mariana," he said with a warm smile. His voice was so soft, almost personal. My face burned with embarrassment. "Thank you, Professor," I managed to say, feeling the words stick to my throat. He chuckled, shaking his head slightly. "You can call me Ethan outside of class." Outside of class. That was the first time the line between us blurred. After that moment, I started finding excuses to stay behind after class. Sometimes it was for academic discussions, sometimes just casual conversations about books, life, or even music. I wanted to know him, not just as a professor, but as a person. He always treated me with respect, but there was something in his eyes, a hesitation, a conflict, as if he was holding something back. Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe I wanted to believe he felt the same way. But every time our hands brushed accidentally, or every time he held my gaze just a little longer than necessary, my heart screamed for something more. One evening, after a student event, we ended up walking together. It was raining lightly, and I shivered. Without thinking, he took off his jacket and placed it over my shoulders. "You'll catch a cold," he said softly. I looked up at him, and for the first time, there was no teacher, no student, just two people standing under the city lights. The rain fell between us like a curtain, separating the world from this moment. My breath hitched, and I thought, just for a second, that he might reach for my hand, that he might say something that would change everything. But then, as if reality struck him, he stepped back abruptly. I should go," he said quickly, his voice tense, his jaw clenched. And just like that, the moment was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I knew there was something between us. I wasn't imagining it. But could it ever be real? Was I just being foolish, mistaking kindness for something deeper? The doubt tormented me, and I felt like I was suffocating under the weight of my emotions. It was wrong. I knew it was, but the heart doesn't follow rules. One afternoon, I was in the library when I received a message. It was from him. "Meet me at the coffee shop across campus. We need to talk." My heart pounded. I rushed to the cafe, my mind filled with 1,000 possibilities. When I arrived, he was already there, looking troubled, his hands wrapped around his coffee cup as if he was trying to find warmth, or maybe courage. "Mariana, whatever you're feeling, whatever we're feeling, it can't happen," he said, his voice almost breaking. My stomach twisted into knots. "Why?" I whispered, barely able to breathe. He sighed deeply, his fingers running through his hair in frustration. "Because I'm your professor. Because I have a career that I've worked too hard for. Because it's wrong." I felt my eyes burn, but I refused to cry. My voice cracked. "I think I love you." It was the first time I had admitted it out loud. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if my words had hit him harder than he expected. And then, in the softest voice, almost like a confession, he whispered, "And that's why this has to stop." That was the last real conversation we ever had. He remained my professor, but he kept his distance. No more late-night conversations. No more stolen glances. It was as if he had built an invisible wall between us, and I was on the other side, staring at something I could never reach. The pain was unbearable, but I knew he was right. Some loves are meant to be felt, but never lived. Years later, when I graduated, I saw him one last time. He stood at the back of the auditorium, watching as I received my diploma. For a moment, our eyes met across the crowd. He smiled at me, a sad, knowing smile, a silent farewell. And just like that, he became a beautiful but impossible memory. Did you like today's story? So, leave your like and subscribe to continue watching the channel's videos. Until the next story.